Hopsin, what the fuck does Pound Syndrome even mean, nigga? Like, what the fuck? What's going on, everybody? It's the Granddad of Granddad Woolly, and you are here again for another edition of Woolly Reviews Hip Hop Data. Today we got an album review today. We're going to be talking about the newest album from a West Coast MC, producer, actor, all that shit, who we thought fucking quit, but apparently it was a joke, so now this nigga's back with a new album. So we gon' holler at the shit, talking about the new album from Hopsin entitled Pound Syndrome. Again, what the fuck does that mean? I don't get it. Pound Syndrome is the fourth full-length album from Hopsin, who is the frontman pretty much of Funk Volume, which is a label and collective consisting of other artists like Jaron Benton and Dizzy Wright and Swiss, who all have their own respective fan bases and cult followings, but Hopsin, I would have to say, has the biggest and largest and most dedicated fan base out of them all. His style is really similar to like Eminem and Tech Nine. He's got a real rapid-fire flow. He tends to touch on a lot of social issues and things that goes on in the rap game and things he deals with being a famous rapper and all the shit that he deals with that comes along with it. That's kind of like his motto and how he goes with things. He also has the series called The Ill Mind of Hopsin, which really got him really popular, where he pretty much just holds a mirror up to a lot of things that goes on in the world with people and a lot of fucked up shit and a lot of things that he pretty much talks about that most people, I guess, don't want to talk about. So that's kind of like how he got his big following and his big buzz, because he kind of connected with a lot of people, and a lot of people actually like Hopsin due to his realness and the things that he just says through his music. Now, I myself have not listened to a lot of Hopsin music. I do respect his talent. The dude has skills, but it just never really gravitated towards me or his style or his music or his albums. I listened to Knock Madness, which was his album prior to this, and it really didn't do much for me. But I said, you know what? He came back from his so-called retirement. I'll give this album a shot and see if Hopsin can win me over on Pound Syndrome. So let's talk about this shit and see if he's done that or if he's utterly failed. Let's talk about it. Now, the first thing you got to realize is when it comes to the production on Hopsin albums, he usually does the whole thing himself, and this album is no different. He tackles all the beats on here, and his beats, though they are good, they just don't feel, I just don't get any life out of a Hopsin beat or Hopsin track. It really sounds kind of mechanical to me, digitized, which pretty much is true because he probably uses like Fruity Loops or some shit or some kind of it just doesn't have any life. I really like a lot of lush instrumentation where you can hear the instruments, and here it just sounds really dry to me. It does sound high quality, and he does have production chops. I just don't get really anything that jumps out for me on the production. It has a lot of instrumentation. It does have a lot of a dark undertone to it. Nothing really bright or lively on here, but it does fit Hopsin's style, which is very chaotic and dark and fast-paced and gritty and grimy. So he does lend well to his style with his production. I just don't find anything on here really that stood out to me, and it's just like a meh or a blah series of beats that kind of all sound similar to the same for me. So there's nothing really that I can say about these beats that I really just say, oh my god, these fucking shits are dope. I've heard a lot better beats from a lot better producers, but this works for Hopsin, so go for it, nigga. I guess it works for you, so do the shit. But let's talk about the bars and the fucking rhymes that Hopsin drops, which I would say is his strongest standpoint in this album. Now, like I said, if you listen to Hopsin, he really has a style very similar to like Eminem and Tech Nine. He really raps fast. He can ride a beat well. He's got really good flow and breath control as far as, you know, putting his words together and being really clear and concise. He's really good at that. But the thing about Hopsin that I realized is that he really touches on the same subjects over and over again throughout his albums. And in Pound Syndrome, he just pretty much gives you an updated version of those subjects. He continues to talk about things like his faith and his religious beliefs, how he deals with life on the road or just as a famous rapper and the things he has to deal with, the pressures of being famous and dealing with all the bullshit he feels like that he has to deal with that he wish he didn't have to, as well as how he's disappointed with the state of the rap game, how whack rappers are, or how much better he is than everybody. You know, all that shit that he pretty much fucking talks about in his last few albums is here again. The only difference is he just tells us about the most recent life events that he's went through, like his situation with the Fort Collins show where he just pretty much fucking dipped out before he had to go on stage and nobody could find his ass, or how he has to deal with, you know, his friends or his family asking him for money when they didn't believe in him when he was coming up, and, you know, how they didn't help him when he was struggling with his mom, shit like that. So he kind of touches on his life a lot in this album, but it's pretty much more of what we just already know or hear from Hopsin, just like the newer details. But, I mean, it's nothing really that stands out for me. And the other thing about this album is that the hooks on here are goddamn atrocious at times. Like, it's really poor hook writing on here. Hopsin cannot have a hook to save his life. He'll have a really good song, the beat will be nice, the lyrics will be dope, and then when the hook comes in, it fucking destroys the song for me, and I just can't listen to the shit. It's unbearable. The hooks on the tracks like Ramona or Forever, or even the opening track, which is called The Pound, they're just god awful. Like, I can't fucking listen to them most of the time because it just ruins the song. And that's the problem with this album. He's got really good, verses for the most part. Even though they're much of the same, he's delivering them very well, and the production is okay for the most part, but those hooks just don't center the song around. It doesn't round it out well, and it just makes it something that's like a good one or passable listen. It's an album that you can listen to, but nothing is going to jump out at you, or very rarely things will jump out at you. But it's just something that I just feel like it's just a meh album. I didn't get any feeling from it. I played it back to back, and it's just the same thing. I'm just like, it's okay, I guess. It didn't make me any more of a Hopsin fan than I already was. I really am not a Hopsin fan, but it didn't make me a Hopsin fan because it's just the same shit we usually get. It's just a little bit different, I guess we would call it. But I also feel that's the main issue with Hopsin, is that the fact that his songwriting skills in general are just deteriorating and going down. It seems like he should be getting better with time, but he's not. And I can hear it in the far as the quality of his songs. It seems like this album really doesn't have a theme, any sort of, I guess, cohesion to it. It's just a whole bunch of songs put together where he's just voicing his opinion, and it seems like he's just reiterating the same shit we've already heard from him over and over again. It's just we get to hear the story of why he did this recently, or why he did that, or how he feels about this. But it's just nothing that's really, really crazy to me. Nothing really stood out to me in this album at all. Now, I usually give you my top 5 tracks, but for the first time ever, I don't have a top 5. I couldn't find 5 songs that I really liked genuinely without being a problem to it. So I got 3 songs that I can say that I have. So it's this Granddad's top 3 for the first time. And let me get them ready. It ain't much, but it would have to be No Hope, and then the next song would be Fort Collins, and then Crown Me. And that's pretty much it. Those are the 3 songs that I got some sort of feeling or some sort of a connection or rise out of, as where I felt like Hopsin really gave me something that I can go back and listen to again enjoyably. The other songs on here are for the most part listenable, but it's nothing that I would go back and repeat. Some of them come off corny, some of them just come off with terrible hooks, or they're just not enjoyable or just interesting to me, and I found myself getting bored listening to these songs and just like, oh my god, let me just let this song fucking hurry up and finish. And the songs are all fairly long, like around the 4 minutes, almost 5 minute mark, and some are 5 minutes, and you just kind of just tune out at times with some of these songs. But with these 3, these are the ones that I can say, okay, I can listen to these at least more than once with no problem. With the song No Hope, Hops is talking about the fact that he's fed up with his friends and his family constantly bugging him and asking him for money and looking for a handout when they weren't even there when he was struggling and he was trying to, come up with a rap game, and he wants them to pretty much go out and get their own instead of fucking leeching off of him, and he's just sick and tired of it, and he doesn't think that it's right. It's a song that pretty much anybody who makes it or in their family member makes it, and then they just see them coming out of the woodwork and just fucking saying, yo, let me get $5, I know you got it. Let me get 1,000, nigga, I know you got it. Why you gotta be salty, nigga? We fam, we friends. I thought we grew up, we went to school together. That bullshit. And then they don't pay you back, and then you're like, what the fuck, nigga? I shouldn't listen to you. The next song, Fort Collins, talks about Hopsin's infamous show at Fort Collins where he didn't show up. He was actually at the show. He was supposed to go on stage, and the nigga just went out the back door and just fucking left without nobody knowing, and they couldn't find this nigga, and they just had a fucking show going on, and they couldn't find a headliner. So he talks about why he did it, where he went, and how he was feeling and the thoughts about it, and just pretty much that story. It pretty much gives the side of the story that I guess everybody's been wanting to know about. So he explains it, and I actually like that song because actually it not only brings closure to the whole situation, but you get to see how Hopsin was feeling and thinking. And if anybody knows, as far as when you get to a certain status and level, you kind of go crazy, you got to kind of step back away from the shit if it gets too crazy for you. And that's what he had to do to keep his sanity. So I like that song, and it's really where Hopsin kind of opens up the most about a situation that most people wanted to know about. So it's a dope record. And the last song that I like is the song Crown Me, which I believe was the first single, and it's pretty much a rapidy rap braggadocious type track where Hopsin's pretty much saying, nigga, you need to crown me because I'm one of the dopest lyricists out right now, and these other rap niggas can't fuck with me. He uses a lot of different flows and a lot of different rhyme schemes and patterns. He's real fast with the flow, and he's got a really good sense of how to, to ride over the beat, and it's a really dope track. It's really high energy, and I like it, and it really just showcases Hopsin's lyrical ability and skill. The hook on here isn't the greatest, but it's not as bad as the other ones on here. But it's one that I still could appreciate just for the sheer fact of the lyricism that he uses on here. But those are my top 3 tracks. I wish I could have had fucking 5, but I couldn't find them. The album was just blah to me for the most part. And that's how it is with Hopsin records for me for the most part. All Hopsin music that I've heard is just like, it's cool, but it's nothing that I really felt like, oh my God, Hopsin's that dude. I know there's some Hopsin stands out there that are probably like, fuck you, Granddad, you just don't fucking understand. But I just can't connect with Hopsin for the most part as far as a whole entire album or project to see what you guys see. So don't fucking hate me. It's just my opinion, you bitch. I'm sorry, I don't mean to call y'all bitches, but if you don't fucking like it, then fuck you, nigga. So my final verdict, I'm not saying that Hopsin Pound Syndrome is a pretty much mad to a blah album with a couple good songs, but a majority terrible hooks and some real okay production for the most part. All I'm saying is that the beats on here are okay, but they're nothing that I would go crazy over. The rhymes here are good. Hopsin can rap. The flows are dope, but it just is weighed down by terrible, terrible hooks and just bad subject matter for the most part. Well, not bad, just reused subject matter. And some shit on here is just so corny, like the end of Ramona is just so goddamn corny, and just a whole bunch of other shit that just makes this album just cringeworthy at times and just something that I can listen to, but I just would zone out to it for the most part. But I think Hopsin fans will like this album because it's just more of what he usually gives them. There's some good songs on here for the most part, like, you know, Fort Collins and No Hope, and there's also a cool little skit here called No Words where he kind of mimics how the rap today is, where you can't understand the motherfucker, but the beat in the back is so damn dope. You act like you like the shit and like it goes hard. There's a lot of that music going on, and he really kind of recreates that to the T. So I did kind of like that, but it was nothing that really made me go like, oh my God, this album is even more better because of that one little thing. But for the most part, it's just a blah album. So all I gotta really say is that for me, Hopsin Pound Syndrome is not Granddad approved, but I'm gonna give it a just barely Granddad recommended because there's only really 3 songs on here that I like. The other ones are passable for me. I mean, I can listen to it if I really, really wanted to or tried, but it's nothing memorable. I got bored with the album, and it's just something that, I mean, I won't go back to at all. Hopsin fans, don't fucking shoot me. Don't kill me. I'm just telling how I fucking feel, all right? So, Hopsin, it's just barely Granddad recommended. If you're a Hopsin fan, you'll like it. If you somebody else who don't like Hopsin, you'll probably be like, it's okay, I guess. But that's all I gotta say. Flip it. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and drop a comment. Tell me what you think of Hopsin Pound Syndrome if you heard it. If you haven't heard it, like I said, there's a few decent tracks, but there's a lot of bad hooks, and it's just something that, to me, it's blah. You'll probably like it if you like Hopsin, but for me, because I was never really a Hopsin fan, it doesn't make me change any different. But I do appreciate his skill, and he does have a couple good records that I can go back and listen to, but for the most part, it's just like blah for me. I'm not gonna go back to it. Previous video was on the side as well as my music video. Check those out, show them some love. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram, links in the description below. And subscribe. Button on the screen, button below, Woolly Reviews, twice a week, gaming channel. Check that out. And I got nothing more to say. So until next time I take my leave, Granddaughter, Hopsin Pound Syndrome. I still don't know what that shit means, but I don't care because I'm not going to listen to this shit again. I'm not. I'm out of here.